They say there's parts of Kentucky's backwoods where time don't move right, where footsteps echo even when you're still, and the trees lean in close, not to listen, but to warn. Folks who've wandered too far off the trail don't always come back, and those who do, they come back changed. So go ahead, pull up a chair, the fire's burning, and tonight we've got stories to tell. Welcome to Kentucky Melody's Scary Stories from Kentucky, where we spin yarns about ghostly haints, creepy hollers, and spine-chilling legends from deep in the hills. So grab a chair, dim them lights, and let's dig into something spooky. Tonight, we're bringing you 5 terrifying forest encounters straight from deep within Kentucky's wilderness. Out of respect for those who shared these experiences, we've withheld names and exact locations. And stick around, 'cause at the end, we've got a bonus story that's darker, longer, and might just follow you into your dreams. Now, this one happened somewhere way back in the hills, deep enough that cell signal don't reach, and the trees grow so close they whisper to each other when the wind's right. There's a fella, we'll just call him Mitch, spent most of his life hunting these woods, the kind of man who knows what every sound in the forest should be. Said he'd gone out one evening in late October, hoping for peace more than game. Took his rifle, some jerky, and a thermos of coffee, and headed up into the pines. Said it was quiet when he got there, but not the good kind. Not peaceful. This was a wrong kind of quiet. No wind, no birds, not even the crunch of leaves underfoot after a while. Just stillness. He said the air felt thick, like the trees were holding their breath. You ever been somewhere and felt like the whole place was watching you? That's how Mitch said it started. He pressed on anyhow, picked a spot near an old fallen log and sat to wait. But he told me his gut was twisting the whole time, like something was coming that the woods didn't want to announce. Then came the sound. Not a growl, not a scream, but a howl. Long, deep, and full of something that didn't belong in the natural order of things. He said it had weight to it, like the sound hit your bones before it ever reached your ears. He stood up slow, rifle in hand, looking to the ridgeline. Then it came again, closer this time. Sounded like it was moving tree to tree, echoing from one shadow to the next. And then he heard it, behind him. Same howl, same pain in it, like it was mourning or warning. He didn't see nothing, but he knew right then. It wasn't coming straight for him. It was circling. Said he felt his spine go cold. Not scared like when you see a bear. Scared like when you realize you're being studied. He didn't wait to be chosen. Dropped his gear and ran. Didn't stop running till he saw the hood of his truck. He don't talk much about that night now. Won't hunt that stretch no more. Says the land feels different up there. Says the trees ain't whispering anymore. They're listening. So tell me, friend, if the forest went still and something started calling out in a voice older than man, older than the land itself, would you go back? Now, this next one comes from a man who'd always fancied himself part wild. Said he didn't take no comfort in towns or traffic. He liked being out where the trees shut out the sun and the only sound is your own breath mixing with the wind. One spring, he decided he was going to test himself. 4 days off grid, deep in the backcountry. Just him, a pack, a knife, and a willingness to sleep with his back against the dirt. First day, peaceful. Second day, that's when things went strange. He was crossing a narrow game trail when he got that feeling. You know the one, like someone's behind you, but when you turn around, it's just empty woods. Except this time, it didn't feel like it passed. It lingered. Said the trees seemed quieter than they should be. The wind died down. Even the birds took pause. That's when he looked up toward the far side of the holler and saw something standing on a ridge across from him. A figure, tall, too tall, standing too straight, too still. It weren't doing nothing, just watching. Its arms hung down longer than they ought to, head tilted ever so slightly to one side, just enough to be wrong. He took a step back, and so did the figure. He moved again. It mimicked him, only it didn't move like a man. It moved like it was remembering what people were supposed to do, but forgetting the details. He raised his voice, tried to call out, ask if someone needed help. That figure, it just blinked out. 1 second it was there, the next it was gone. No movement, no sound, just gone. He stayed up that night, fire built high, back to a rock wall. Didn't sleep much. When he made it out 2 days later, he shared the story with someone from the area. They just nodded real slow and said, "Yeah, sometimes the hills send a warning first. Some folks think it's a guardian. Others say it's something older than we got words for. Whatever it is, it don't walk up to you. It just lets you know you were seen. So now I ask you, if you looked up across the ridge and saw a figure standing too tall, too still, mimicking your every move without ever blinking, would you keep walking? Or would you turn back before the woods decided you'd gone too far?" This next story comes from a man who liked the quiet places. Said when life got too loud, when folks in traffic and news started building up in his head, he'd pack a bag, grab his old bedroll, and disappear into the hills for a night or two. No phone, no firewood bundles, just him and the dark. This particular trip, he picked a holler he hadn't camped in before. Took him about 3 hours to hike in. Said it was one of them spots where the trees bend over you, like they're shelter in the land itself. Cool running water nearby, no trash, no boot tracks. At first, it was peaceful, the kind of peace only the woods can give you. Frogs chirping, crickets keeping rhythm, the soft pop of a small fire. He cooked a little supper, laid back on a mossy patch with the stars peeking through, and then the whistle came. Not a breeze, not a bird, a tune. Simple, human, but off, like someone had only half remembered it. He sat up, looked around, didn't see a soul. So he did what anyone might have done if they weren't thinking too hard. He whistled it back. 3 notes, that was all. Just 3 little notes, and a moment later, from the tree line off to his right, the same tune, same pitch, same speed. Only closer. He stood up, looked out into the dark, but the fire didn't reach that far. He whistled again, and sure enough, it answered. This time, it came from the left. He backed toward his pack, hand reaching for his flashlight. The woods had gone still. Too still. Like every living thing had tucked itself in and decided not to interfere. Then he saw it. Just past the edge of the firelight, standing half in the shadow of a tree, a figure. Tall, but not impossibly so. But something about it was just off, too straight, too still, pale in the face, dark around the eyes. Couldn't make out details, but he said it felt like staring at a person shaped wrong, like a mannequin made to look human but not quite nailed it. And it was whistling, his tune, slow, perfect, mocking. He didn't wait to see if it had legs, just grabbed his gear and ran. Didn't stop till he hit gravel. Said the whole way back, through brush and branches, it kept whistling. Never louder, never closer. Just there, pacing him, smiling without lips. He ain't camped alone since. Won't even go back to that area in daylight. Said the woods remembered the sound he made. And something else did too. So let me ask you, if the forest ever whistled your tune back to you, same notes, same rhythm, would you answer again? Or would you run before it learned the second verse? Okay now, this next story don't start in the woods exactly, but it ends there. A group of friends, 4 of them, had been out riding the back roads one afternoon. Nothing wild, just killing time and following the map where it frayed at the edges. They came across a logging road choked with weeds, and being young and curious, they followed it on foot. After about 20 minutes of climbing switchbacks and stepping over old stone markers, they found a clearing. Tucked back at the edge of it was a cabin, or what was left of one. Half rotted, vines growing up the porch, door hanging crooked like it had been caught trying to run. But the inside was still, dust-covered, sure, but untouched. Like time didn't pass in there the same way it did outside. One of the boys noticed a big old mirror nailed to the wall in what used to be the main room. Tarnished round the edges, but clean in the glass. Here's where it gets strange. They looked in and saw the room, but not themselves. They were standing right in front of it, but there were no reflections, just the empty cabin behind them. They all kind of laughed it off, said it was just a light or the glass warped or whatever. They poked around a bit, cracked a couple beers, tried to shake that buzzing feeling off their skin. But one of the girls, she froze up, said she saw something in the mirror, behind them, a figure, faceless, not blurry, not hiding, just smooth where a face should have been, like the skin had been stretched tight over emptiness. She turned around, nothing there. But when she turned back to the mirror, the figure was closer. They all saw it then. No eyes, no mouth, just standing there in the mirror like it belonged, and they didn't. They backed out slow, didn't run, just retreated, didn't speak till they hit the main road. One of the boys went to check his phone. He'd snapped a picture of the mirror trying to be funny, but the image, just static, gray and warped, like the phone had captured something it shouldn't have. They say they ain't never been able to find that road again, no matter how many times they tried. It's like the place let 'em in once and decided that was enough. So let me ask you, what would you do if you looked in a mirror and saw nothing, but something else saw you? This last one here is the kind of tale folks whisper on foggy nights when the dogs won't stop barking and the road feels a little too long getting home. It comes from a couple, just passing through a stretch of backwoods road they weren't familiar with. Said the GPS cut out a few miles back, so they just kept driving, figuring they'd hit a main route eventually. It was late, close to midnight. Fog had rolled in thick, one of them ground-hugging mists that crawls up out of the hollers and just sits there like it's waiting for something. That's when they saw him, a man, standing in the road, not moving, holding a lantern. He was waving it slow, side to side, like he needed help, or maybe warning them to stop. The driver slowed down, rolled the window down just a crack, didn't hear nothing. No voice, no footsteps, just the creak of the lantern as it swayed. The man didn't step back, didn't get closer, just stood there in the middle of the fog. They said his face wasn't right. It weren't that it was missing, it was more like the shadows wouldn't land on it proper, like his features were smudged out or melting. And his legs? They didn't move like legs ought to, twisting wrong, bending just enough to be unnatural. The girl in the passenger seat begged the driver to go. He hesitated, and that's when the lantern flickered, then snapped out. The road ahead went pitch black, not dim, not shaded, gone. They floored it, didn't look back, didn't even speak till they hit gravel and cell service kicked back in. Locals say there's been stories of a man with a lantern on that road for years. Some say he's a lost traveler. Others claim he's something darker, a soul who made a bad bargain and now he's stuck between here and somewhere worse. Either way, he don't ask for help. He waits for someone to stop, someone to follow, and once you step into the fog with him, well, nobody can tell you what happens next, 'cause the folks who do don't come back talking. So tell me, friend, if you saw a man with a lantern standing in the road, waving you down on a night when even the stars won't shine, would you stop, or would you drive on and pray he wasn't following? Now, this here bonus one ain't your average campfire story. It's one of them tales that don't end when the fire dies out. It stays with you, in the silence, in the shadows, in the ticking of a clock that suddenly feels off. The woman who told it, we'll call her June, worked forestry contracts, trail checks, mapping out erosion sites. She'd been doing it for years, smart, tough, didn't spook easy. Said she'd gone out on a solo check after a heavy storm had caused a slide somewhere deep in the hills. Took her most of the morning to get there. Long ridge hike, then down into a bowl-shaped holler choked with moss and stillness. She noticed something odd right off. The woods didn't sound right. No frogs, no insects, no birds, just the crunch of her boots and the sound of her own breath. She said the light was strange too, like the sun was shining, but the colors around her had been turned down, faded, like she was walking through a memory. Then came the smell. Not death, not rot, but something old, like wet stone and rusted iron and smoke that had been hanging in the air for years. That's when she saw it. Perched halfway up a ridge across the holler was a creature. Crouched low, almost folded in on itself, long limbs bent at wrong angles, skin white as wax paper, stretched too tight in some places and hanging loose in others. It didn't have a face, not really, just hollows where eyes should be and a mouth that looked more like a tear. She blinked, and it was gone. But that was only the beginning. She tried to leave, turned around, started back up the trail. Only, it wasn't the same trail. There were stumps she didn't remember, trees leaning different directions, no wind, no birds, and the sun hadn't moved. She checked her GPS, said she was stuck in the same quarter-mile loop, no matter which direction she walked. And then the sound started. Step, drag, step, drag. Always behind her, never closer, but never stopping. She turned more than once, thinking she'd catch a glimpse, but there was never nothing there, until she found the hollered-out tree, one she swore she hadn't passed before. She crawled inside, stayed still, said she don't remember falling asleep. But when she opened her eyes, the light had changed. The forest breathed again, and the sounds were gone. She made it back to her truck in a daze. Said her GPS clocked just under 3 hours out there, but her gear was damp with morning dew, and her watch battery stone cold dead. When she got home, she realized something else had changed. She didn't recognize her own voice on the voicemail she left earlier. Said it didn't sound wrong exactly, just like someone trying awful hard to sound like her. She ain't been back in the field since. Burned her work maps, deleted her trail logs, but every now and then, when the wind shifts, she swears she hears that sound again. Step, drag. Step, drag. Not in the woods this time, but in the hallway outside her bedroom. So let me ask you, what would you do if the woods bent around you like a looping trail with no end? If the creature watching you didn't come to harm you, it came to replace you? Would you keep walking, or would you hide and pray it forgot your name? Now, that's 5 spooky tales from Kentucky's deepest woods, plus one that might be more than just a story. So tell me, which story chilled you the most? Have you ever seen something strange on a night drive or deep in the woods? Would you whistle back if the trees started singing your song? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. And if you've got a story of your own, we're listening. We'll be back soon with another round of backwoods tales and midnight warnings. Until then, come on back to Kentucky Melody, where every whisper has a past, and something is always watching.